Oh, wow.
Hola.
Hola. Can we do, I might turn around so the sun's not in my eyes. Check this out.
We are live on Facebook. Oh my God. Where are
Hello,
you at?
everybody. Let's start with this.
Let's get everybody in the you put it on that. Let me get everybody in here.
We shall do it again. Hang on, I'm going to turn around so it'll be behind me. So does Zoom go live on Facebook? What's this? I didn't think you could Zoom. What?
You can if you upgrade it. You have to upgrade. It's like $60 a month.
That is cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Let me turn myself around. Oh, it doesn't let you turn yourself around, but I've got myself behind me.
Yeah.
I might take us for a little walk down the river later on.
All right. Let me share this around to the group. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. To the page. Page. Share.
Oh, look, I have a little.
What is it? What's going on, everybody? Let me just share it to our...
How's my crown chakra sun hat? Nice.
It's coming and going. It's fading in and out.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Oh, yeah, tree on my head. Lovely.
New Earth 1111, fuse lights, collect Federation, twin flame, unification to it.
Can I share this to my page?
Yeah, just go to my page and share it. And
I'll share it from your page. Yeah.
Can you do that at the same time?
It's saying I can share it on all sorts of places, but not Facebook. So we'll just go there, and
wait a minute.
I'll go to your page.
I'll share it to you. Oh, you can get to my page? If you can get to my page.
Yeah,
okay. Then
because if you share it, it'll wait for my permission before it'll put it on.
Man.
Yeah.
What am I, chopped liver? Okay. So
chopped liver doesn't need permission.
That's right. So few hellos. Amira Beth.
Here we are.
Soraya Williams, Heather Nielsen, Cecilia Kant, Maria Iverson, Judy Lee, Janine Pope Hutt.
Are you getting that feedback, Todd?
No. April O'Grady. Let
me get off there.
You might have if you went on Facebook, you might be playing it at the same time. Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Can you invite Jordan Locke?
No.
Why?
Because he's not my friend.
Oh, Jordan. Okay, let me see.
Never heard of him. Cameron Osmers, Shard Domke. I'm going to try to get your name right, Char. Susan Lanuette, Carla Bass from Sedona, Tio Guadalupe, Sedona, Nasia Rose, Ana Isabel Rente.
Hello, Anna. Hello, Nasia. Yay! Yeah. Hello.
Let's see. Tracy Musgrove from the UK, gone 1 a.m. in the morning. Couldn't sleep, and you both pinged me. And Lynn Starkey.
Yeah, why is it not showing on my... I thought I just shared it to my page, but it's not showing.
It's karmic retribution.
Karmic retribution? Is that my karmic retribution?
Because yeah.
Because I'm late. Actually, I think you were late, but you got to use me as an excuse for being late.
That's right. Oh, late. Yeah. I thought you said light.
Late.
You were light. Oh yeah, I was.
I am. Here we go. Here I am. A light.
Well, I was on it. Yeah, there you go. I was actually going to be on time, but then Morgan sent me a note, said, "Can you start a little late?" I was on a show with a guy named Brian Henry, a young light worker. It was very refreshing. We had a fun hour. It was cool. Talked about a lot of things. So what's been happening in your world, man? You moved from one side of the country to another.
Accidentally. There was no intention to move 4,000 kilometers away.
This is the way of the now.
This is the way we roll. That's right. And when things start unfolding, I thought I was driving across the country to pick up my son and then continue around and go back to the west. And then we got here and things, let me get that. Oh, the sun's kind of cool, isn't it? All right. and things just unfolded so dramatically and perfectly and loud and clear that said, you're staying here, that I would have to be pretty switched off to not have listened. It was pretty huge. It started with a school having homeschooled Liam for 3 years, and he's 11 now, and we're looking down, you know, the barrel of high school and what's going to happen and transition into schooling, you know, la, 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 is it going to happen, is it not? And I was really unschooling him more than homeschooling him. And there's a little mountain school here that has 11 students. It's a public school, so there's no cost. 11 students, a teacher and an assistant, so it's 2 on 11.
Wow.
And they're all boys. They just happen to be all boys at this point. And I was just like, wow. And he loves it. After 3 years of saying, I'm never going back to school, resistance extraordinaire, he just went, I love it. Like, he loves it. Wow. He loves it so much. He's chosen that he doesn't want to go back to shut down the only home he's lived in for 11 years. He's happy to have that happen without his presence. So that was just sort of the pinnacle, you know, and then just everything, community, friends, love, support, like, whoa, just beautiful. So here we are, accidentally moved to the other side of the continent.
So you listen to your higher self or something?
Well, like, what is it? For me, I didn't listen to my lower self. Is more the point. I think I didn't listen to all the reasons that perhaps I'd gone insane. You know, I didn't listen to all the reasons of security and stuff. And I mean, I'm losing 11 years. Fundamentally, everything in my home of 11 years is pretty much being dumped because I'm not there. And the person who's helping me shut down the house, you know, we're just taking a couple of things. So it's like having your house burned down to a certain degree. It's like, just had to let go.
Sounds like an elevation to me.
Yeah, I think I just took notice. Yeah. I just didn't allow myself, which leads into what I want to talk about today, which is the nervous system. Surprise, surprise. Nervous system and spiritual bypassing. How's that for a topic? It's a great topic, I say. And
I like that topic.
I like that topic.
I don't know how you relate. I'm interested to know how you relate the nervous system to spiritual bypassing, though.
Yeah. Look, the nervous system and the nervous system works. Just the most exciting thing on the planet for anyone who's interested.
You're like the nervous system expert.
Well, I'm not, and I want to state that.
You've researched a lot. You're pretty well versed.
I have researched a lot, and the nervous system work came on the top of a lifetime of researching and seeking and fascination with human, you know, potential for internal peace and joy and happiness and fun, you know, to just have a really good time. And what does that look like? And what does that look like when there are people on the planet who are not, let alone people you're very close to who are not having fun, or, you know, and how does this all work, and blah, blah, blah. So when the nervous system work came, it was like the piece of a long-term 30 years of puzzle, putting pieces in that just made the whole picture make sense. So although I do a lot of research, and I haven't done any of the online programs, have I not been in a position to pay for them, or have I just not bloody
do you need to? I mean, do you need to these days with the information's out there? I mean, with the information.
Depends who you are. It depends who you are. I don't think I need to. I want to, because the amount of benefit I've got from her free resources, Irene Lyon, let's say I would name a lot, Lyon. Also, she's the person that I have followed and read and learnt from. Her mentors are people like Gabor Mate, Kathy Kane, Peter Levine, who wrote Waking the Tiger.
What's her name?
Irene Lyon, Lyon. Now, she has prolific free resources of written and videos. So if you are just to Google Irene Lyon and the nervous system, or Irene Lyon and anger, or Irene Lyon and enlightenment, or Irene Lyon, despite the fact that she speaks in a very...
there you go. Tune up your nervous system and rev up your entire life. 21-day nervous system tune-up.
I can't wait to do that one. That's the cheaper one.
Yeah.
And even in her big program, which is 12 weeks once a year, you have lifetime alumni when you buy it. I think it's about $1,200. But she also does, like, you can pay $150 a month to join that program.
Here's all her free stuff: adrenal fatigue, how to de-stress in 7 steps.
Nice one. And
healing trauma.
I want to walk through that 7-step de-stress today too.
Yeah. All right. I'm cool.
So the thing is, for people who are, for a lot of people actually across the board, I'm finding it's not just spiritual circles. I'm finding when I talk about her work and post her work, many people can't relate and sort of don't respond, and it's not vibing them, and it's not, and I really think that this is because ultimately, whatever your belief system, whether you're science, whether you're spirit, let's take those two, whether you're science or spirit, I think everyone's still in a fairly extreme state of disembodiment. And so when she comes in saying all the answers you want, no matter who you are, for a peaceful, joyous life, no matter what your belief system is, none of that matters, reside within your physical system, people really struggle to take that on board. And even though I think she is amazing in the ways that she explains it, and I just strongly recommend watching a lot of her videos.
Well, I mean, some people are going to resonate with it and some people aren't. Some people will find
Seems like a huge amount don't resonate with it.
Well, the only thing that really matters in this whole trip is what resonates for ourselves.
Yeah, it is.
But I do respect the fact that you advocating this because we've talked about it before. And, and there has been, I think, at least from the chair I'm sitting in, there seems to be more and more people that are listening to their body. Okay, so whether it's defined as the nervous system or, I've become very conscious of my body. I know a couple of days ago, I had a pain in my knee, and I was like, okay, what is it? What are you trying to tell me? And this is a conversation I have almost every day now. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that it doesn't take very long.
No, and I think that conversation, and it doesn't really matter whether so the number one thing that Irene says, the first step to nervous system regulation is education. And when you're really educated and you do the research and the education, which she provides a ton of what the nervous system actually is, how it operates, things like, and I've got to say, despite the way I gather information is very interconnected, and I'm not very details orientated, so I can't substantiate everything I say as being, absolute truth, and everyone has to do their own education. So if what I say resonates with people, do your own education. So here's my understanding of a couple of points about the nervous system before we talk about spiritual bypassing of the nervous system. One is that when we're born, the only aspect of the nervous system that's operational is our autonomic nervous system. Our parasympathetic nervous system.
What is the autonomic nervous system?
So the most important thing about the autonomic nervous system is that it doesn't carry the fight and the flight, obviously, because a baby can't run away and a baby can't fight. So
the only thing present day one is the autonomic part of the nervous system,
which is shut down. So the only part of our survival, so we've got fight, flight, freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. These are the three responses in our survival physiology. So in the autonomic nervous system, it's just freeze. So the only capacity we have to deal with trauma or stress when we're born is shut down, shut down,
freeze.
Shut down, shut down, freeze, freeze. Because, you know, okay, you can scream a bit, but that could become dangerous for a baby if they scream too much and their survival person is getting stressed, you know. They can't run away, so they can't fly it. So the autonomic nervous system is shut down, is freeze. And then the parasympathetic nervous system has the fight and the flight, and that is trained. That is not present, that is trained into us and can be untrained.
I just wonder, is it because that whole fight or flight, isn't that like connected to the whole reptilian part of the brain?
Absolutely, but what we individually have in our individual patterning in our nervous system as a threat, fight and flight, as a threat, is patterned in our childhood. So as you start talking about this, it's talking about a million other ideas of the same thing, patterning in childhood, yada, 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 but it's taking it back to the body. It's saying the trauma, a statement of hers that jumps out for me is, trauma exists in your body, not in the event.
True.
So the event, there's trauma. If your survival physiology was fully regulated, there would be a traumatic event like a bear, a mama bear sees someone coming near her cubs, you'd go rah, and then you'd settle back. And that's how proper survival physiology works. We respond, fight, flight, freeze appropriately, as opposed to having a fight response to someone having a different opinion. That's how our survival physiology, let's go back.
Say that again, because you lost me.
Yeah, I know, I felt that. So I'd also like to post this talk by Gabor Mate, who's one of Irene Lyon's mentors. He does a really good video.
Okay, go back to what you were saying, because I want to make sure I get everything, because I have to get this. I can't. So you were saying...
Okay, tell me what I was saying, because I've forgotten already.
You were saying something about flight, fight, freeze. So these are the three things we have, or whatever. And then you were saying that something about if you don't agree with somebody.
Right. So in a dysregulated nervous system, you are constantly perceiving threat where none exists. Now, most of our lives in the modern world, zero actual threat exists. Yet our survival physiology is going into this reactivity about all these external situations that aren't an actual threat. And so when someone has an opinion we strongly disagree with, our whole system goes into fight rather than being able to peacefully entertain this different opinion and go, oh, wow, I strongly disagree with that. Here's what I think.
Or isn't there another one where you can just not agree and not say anything?
Exactly. But all of that takes regulated. And what the modern person is doing now, back in the what's the word, before colonization, before the modern living, there was threat. There was actual survival based threat in people's lives, and they had regulated nervous systems for all sorts of reasons, which is a whole other conversation about the indigenous systems of living and how it regulated your nervous system, and the modern systems of living and how it dysregulates going to a shopping centre is dysregulating for your nervous system. Fluorescent lights are dysregulating for your nervous system. Everything about the lack of interconnection in the modern system is totally dysregulating. So we're not even talking about people who've had big fat trauma in their childhood. It's traumatic being born in a hospital. Imagine the freeze response of a baby that comes out of a womb and is born into that horrifying, bright light clashing lack of comfort or joy or support, feet stuck in, it's horrifying. Like, our way of birthing in hospital is truly horrifying for a baby coming out of the womb, as opposed a woman who hasn't grown, you know, in the Indigenous systems of living, a woman will have grown her whole life watching birth, knowing about women's bodies, her own body, welcoming this amazing transition, supported by a million grandmothers and aunties who are all there with her and la la la. Our modern system is it's traumatizing to be born, let alone traumatizing, you know, going into all the ways that we're raising children. So let me talk about Gabor Mate's clip on authenticity and attachment. So in this clip, which I'll post later, because I don't know how to right now, he talks about the main drivers of the human being are authenticity and attachment. He's not talking about attachment to your stuff. He's talking about connection to other people. His attachment as in connection to other people, interconnection. So I suppose really he's saying authenticity, individuality, individual authenticity, and interconnected with everyone else. So these are the two drivers, our own authenticity and our desire to interconnect with everyone else. He talks about how when you're a baby, obviously the most important of those two is attachment, because this baby is going in our modern system, nuclear.
All the baby would know. The baby wouldn't
all the baby knows is, for me to survive, I have to attach to, I have to please this person, I have to keep them okay, I have to whatever. These are these two or one people in the nuclear kaboom family, as opposed to in Indigenous systems of living, a baby had 10, 15, 20 people to see itself reflected in. And so there wasn't this intense focus on two people or one person to provide all of their survival needs. So this little baby is going, right, got to keep that person sweet so I live. It's a survival issue because I can't walk and I can't talk and I can't feed myself, and I need them to do that for me. So authenticity kind of goes out the window. This is what he's talking about. And so there's this general concept that a human being says at a very early stage, even in families that seem quite whatever, not traumatic, at some stage the baby says, I have to disconnect from my authenticity in order to secure attachment. I can't be authentic because when I'm authentic and I scream or I cry or I go and stick my hands in all the jelly because it feels so delightful and everyone goes, oh my God, that's terrible. Or I shove food in my face going, yum, 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 being, you know, and everyone goes, oh, that's greedy, that's bad. And all the child goes is, oh, wrong, 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 wrong. I touch my genitals because it feels bloody delightful and my hands reach directly there, hello, you know, and there's this reaction, bad, 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 you know, so the child goes, right, authenticity doesn't work. So we disconnect from our authenticity and we focus on attachment. But then what he talks about is, as adults, we're trying to reconnect to our authenticity so that we can actually have healthy relationships, because that's how we have healthy relationships. And we're all going around having these relationships that are just based on all this messed up lack of authenticity, all this messed up, I put my authenticity aside. So then he talks about in this clip, which is so fantastic, the reason, why do we need authenticity to survive? That's a question that can be asked. Why do we need? Why is he saying?
What is the definition of survive?
And well,
because does it discount the number of years you live if you're authentic or attached?
Well, and you could say survive or thrive, you know, and he's saying that authenticity is actually survival based in the survival physiology. And I would say it's thriving based. You're not going to thrive to your full potential until you're fully.
That's a better word.
Yeah. But let's talk about how he's saying it's survival based. And this is why he's saying it, because you can't be connected to your gut instincts. You can't be connected to the communication from your body that you talked about at the beginning, which is the survival base. And this is why I've ended up where I have in this transition. I've been in my body, and my body so clearly communicates when I'm on the right path. And then I've managed, by staying in my body, to not let my mind get involved and go, what the hell are you doing? What about all your stuff? What's going on? You can't do this. You can't just, you know, leave everything behind, blah, blah, blah. And I've managed to stay in my body, and my body's been going, yay, this is amazing. So what he's saying is that authenticity is a survival-based issue, because authenticity is about connection to your body, and your body is your guidance. Your body is your gut instincts. Your body says, no, don't get in the car with that person. Your body says, no, put the brake on now because there's a car flying around the other corner. Your body knows like everything. There's this interconnection of everything with our nervous system. And if you're not, so that is how authenticity is actually connected to literal survival, not just thriving to your highest potential. And so I feel like I would like you to ask a question or say something. That's enough of me blah-blaring.
Well, I understand what you're saying. My vernacular is different. I would say, instead of body, soul, although I have a relationship with my body, and it's got some relationship with my soul, but it's the same, a different description of what a lot of people talk about in different ways. So my question would be, how does this information relate to spiritual bypassing?
Well, that's where I thought we were ready. Great question. In my opinion, and this is only my opinion, what happens when, in my opinion, the soul has a biological location, and it's in the body. It's not separate to the body. It's not outside the body. It's the nervous system. And I even believe that our nervous system is what's coming between lives with us in some way. I believe the location of the soul is in the body, and it's all one thing. There's no separation. It's all in here together. It's not out there or here or down there or anywhere else. It's here. When it comes to spiritual bypassing, and I haven't put a lot of thought into this, it's more a felt sense, so you'll have to stay with me. When people come up with ideas about anything, about personal transformation, what all of us have experienced so often in our journeys, where we come across some information and we go, oh my God, that's it. And we may be blissed out or really peaceful or feel we've reached another level or whatever. And it's very rarely sustainable, in my experience. It's very rarely sustainable. What so many people experience is like a return of the same shit, a return of the same shit, a return of the same shit. And maybe that shit is of a different texture than it was, but this constant return of issues that in various different wonderful practices we find seem to have shifted the shit, and it returns and it returns, and we say, oh, it's just...
So as a result of what, an epiphany or revelation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I mean. As a result of an epiphany or a revelation that we have over and over again, and then you get that sense of, oh my God, I'm on it. I've got it now. I've got it now. And then the shit returns. It just returns. It returns. It returns. And maybe it returns in, a better version of itself, but it still returns. And the only sustainable work I've ever done is the nervous system work. The only thing that sustains. And the peace
is shadow work nervous system work?
Absolutely. I just think it's all nervous system work. It all relates to that.
Yeah. I mean, but it's semantics. I'm just saying, it's shadow work. Are you working on the nervous system? I mean, they talk about creating new neural pathways. If you handle the shadow, if you really handle the shadow, are you going to have, is that frequency or energy going to loop back around?
So that's perfect. Thank you. I'm really rushing with a lot of energy at the moment. So that's a perfect loop. Really rely on you to bring it round. So the looping back around, the shadow work, all of that work, you could call the shadow work the trapped trauma responses in your nervous system. So that at whatever point, my God, it could be surgery. It could be anything. It's not necessarily just emotional trauma. It could be anything, that someone has experienced. And what happens is that they get a trapped trauma response in the nervous system that doesn't come back to regulation, because a healthy nervous system spikes with fight, flight, or freeze, and then comes back to perfect peace. Yeah. Spikes appropriately, comes back to perfect peace, just like you see animals doing. That's it. A lion can roar like a maniac, then settle back. Perfect. Yes. That's how the nervous system works in regulation. So those trapped trauma responses that we never regulated, so that most humans are living in either a state of hypervigilance or a state of functional freeze, it's known as, just shut down, functional shutdown. It never regulates back. And those trapped trauma responses that are living in our body are just continuing and continuing. And what we do as adults is we actually are compounding them and compounding them and compounding them. If you can get to children, young people, they have got so much less work to do to regulate their nervous system. Us adults who've gone on for years compounding these trapped trauma responses, you could call that the shadow. And you could call that the suppression. She says another thing that I really love, that fear and anger are natural parts of our survival physiology, and hate is not. And that hate is not a natural human emotion in any way, shape, or form, but that it is a result of suppressing our fear and anger, of not allowing our fear and anger to do their appropriate job in our survival physiology. Fear and anger, fear is obvious. Fear is gut feelings. Fear is healthy fear, obviously, healthy fear that says, no, don't get in the car with that person, or no, don't eat that thing because I just have a feeling that it's not right, or whatever. Anger, healthy anger says, get the fuck away from my child. Back to peaceful. Healthy anger says no. Healthy anger is boundaries. And there's so much that goes on. Here's the spiritual bypassing conversation. In the spiritual circles, that is all about no anger, no fear, let's everything be positive, which are all really true in their own way. But the spiritual bypassing happens when we say anger is bad, we must remove it, we must never have it. Fear is bad, we must remove it, we must never have it. Because those are natural parts of the survival physiology, and the repression of fear and anger in their natural states, healthy states, is what Irene Lyons says causes hate. That is where hate.
So spiritual bypassing of, because this is specific, of anger, fear, is basically ignoring the shadow.
Ignoring the shadow and not allowing it. Yeah, absolutely. It's ignoring the shadow and seeing the shadow as something to be removed and got rid of, instead of something to integrate in a healthy way within you. And that happens in spiritual bypassing a lot. People, when they go into shadow work, they are coming with this view to remove the shadow And no, you don't want to remove the shadow. Well, in my opinion, you don't want to remove the shadow. You want to integrate the shadow so that it can be in a healthy form in your life rather than something you resist and push away. And it is the same in the nervous system. If you say anger is bad, I will not feel anger. I don't need to feel anger. There is no anger. I disagree. And there may be never a time in your life, possibly, that you need that survival physiology of anger, but it's quite likely there will be a time when somebody does even just comes too close to you and you're just like, they're standing too close to you and you don't like it and it doesn't feel good. And rather than saying, oi, back up, or taking their hand off your shoulder and saying, I don't like that, because you're too worried about how they'll feel or whatever else, you've suppressed your anger. You've suppressed your healthy no. You've suppressed your healthy boundary. And I don't need to explain to you why I don't want your hand on my shoulder. I don't need to stuff down my feeling of, you know, Irene talks about how specifically I'm hypersensitive to touch. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also, there are times where to honor my own nervous system and dysregulation, and that's fine because I'm not regulated yet. I don't like casual touch. I don't like to be touched from behind when I don't know it's coming. I don't like to be touched without consent. What I mean is I don't even want you to put your hand on my arm without consent.
So are these boundaries, are these nervous, symptomatic feelings or whatever you want to call it, that are gateways to shadow?
Absolutely, because and the good thing about nervous system work is it doesn't focus on needing to know the stories. But she, for instance, says it could be as simple as maybe you went to the dentist a lot when you were young and you were having teeth pulled and it was really, really painful. And maybe he always put his hand on your shoulder just before he did the work. And maybe it's something as simple as that your nervous system fires when people touch you from behind and you don't know they're coming. It can be as simple as that.
So how do you
Well, the first step is you honor it. You start by honoring it. And so there's a period, and of course this sounds like a lot of things too. In your nervous system work, there's a really important period, and that's part of how I ended up here. And so far away from everything in my life that was extremely high trauma for a long time with my grandchildren and daughters. And the first step is you honor your trapped trauma responses. And it's the same as honoring the shadow. So if you don't like people putting their hand on your arm, be willing to pick it up and calmly say, please don't touch me. I'm not comfortable with that. And it's not easy because people get really embarrassed. They think it's no big deal. They've done this or that, whatever your thing is. Maybe your thing is you don't like your middle finger being touched. Like whatever, it doesn't matter. The first step to nervous system regulation is to honor how you feel. And if it freaks you out that people touch you from behind without letting you see them, it's been hard for my children. I see other mothers and I see their children, makes me quite emotional. I see their children climbing all over them and jumping on them, and I've never been able to do that. It freaks me out if people are jostling me or grabbing me, or it just freaks me out. Now, I can come with a lot of stories why that might be, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I honor my boundaries and I don't suppress my anger that flares up and goes, get them off you, get them off you, get them off you. When some child is just putting their hand on me, my child, I have to honor it. I have to say, don't ever touch me from behind. Don't jump on me from behind. Don't seek consent.
But isn't that, I mean, Fiona, isn't that the same thing you're talking about with children when you're raising children and telling them no? So they become attached versus authentic. So wouldn't the solution be to deal, like everything else in this ascension, to deal with our stuff?
Oh my God, something just fell down. Yes, it would be. And so dealing with your stuff, this is dealing with your stuff. So then you get to this concept that we've all traveled with a lot of, I'm triggered. Do I sit with that trigger and try and work through it? Or do I honor? And this is the difference with nervous system work. In the beginning, absolutely not. This is the beginning of my pathway, was saying, I don't care if it's your shit or my shit. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I'm not doing it. And that was the beginning. And what I have found as I go with that, instead of what's been my lifelong attitude when triggered, is to go, okay, let's see what's happening here. Let's sit with this. Is it my shit? Is it their shit? What's happening? Let's work it out. Let's deal with it, you know. As I've shifted to no negotiation, I don't care whose shit it is. My whole survival physiology is saying, get the fuck away from this person. I'm going to get the fuck away from them. That's what I'm going to do. And what I've discovered is, as I've honored my nervous system, trapped, dysregulated, firing inner child, whatever you want to call it, saying, oh, this feels really bad, I don't like it, you know, as I've honored that, that has been the very thing that's regulated my nervous system. So I am now finding a far greater capacity to sit in the space with situations that in the past would have triggered me and would have been, and not be triggered. But the first, and not be triggered and be able to peacefully entertain them. But the first step was the honoring of that dysregulated, childish, you could say, childish, selfish, self-involved. If it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it. If I don't like being around you, I'm not being around you. If I don't want you to touch my little finger, don't touch my fucking little finger, because I say so and I don't want to talk about it. And that is like, you're becoming your own knight in shining armor. You're becoming your own protector of your own child, because in that dysregulated nervous system lives your inner child, lives this terrified child that put away their authenticity because they thought they had to attach to other people. Well, this is the reverse of it. This is saying, I don't care about attachment anymore. The only person on this planet, when I went through this process, and I'm still in it to a certain degree, was the child I'm morally and spiritually and legally responsible for. He is the only one in this process that deeply triggers me, of course, that I won't say, no, I don't want to see you. I broke up with my first friend. I've never broken up with a friend before. But this thing happened and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to go down this path. I see the red flags. I see how I don't want to be friends anymore. See ya. And that's really exhilarating to say, really, isn't it a bit egoic anyway? Wounded egoic? To be like, well, to stay in a friendship that isn't serving you. To stay in a relationship, yes, every relationship can serve you. But when you're looking at it from this initial honoring of yourself and how you feel, to the exclusion of anyone else and how they feel, that's the honoring of the inner child. That's the honoring of the child within you that never did that. So now you're going to do it together.
That's
now you're going to say, no judgment on you, man. And that was the great thing that I feel in this process too. When you go into that process where you're so willing to go, you know what, this feels shit, I'm not doing it. It's such, not very quickly, because it's work and it takes time, that honoring of yourself, that being your own protector.
Yeah.
And no negotiation, no discussion. I don't care if I'm being ridiculous. I don't care if it's my fault. I don't care if you're a completely reasonable person and I've just behaved like a twit. I don't care. See ya. This doesn't feel good.
The whole point is, and you're describing shadow work.
Yeah.
And the point is, you take it into yourself. If you start to be demonstrative and say, give them the business, that's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
That's not necessarily a good thing. You know, I mean, we've all been there. We've all been there. I had something happen today. And
Tell me about it.
Well, I don't unfriend people unless they're really harassing me. Okay. Doesn't happen. I don't block people unless they're really, really harassing me. And somebody, you know, somebody did something. Somebody publicly talked shit about Soulogy and my wife and me, and it's not like it's the first time, but there's a history here, okay, where I you know, took it, you know, turned the other cheek, came back, said, hey, you know what? Let's just let that shit go. So I didn't say anything, and I'm not going to say anything.
So you didn't answer to the comments? Was it in the group?
No. It was done vocally. It was done with an audience. So I got wind of it, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to think about this. Actually, Morgan said, you know, think about it a couple of days. I never considered saying anything to the person.
Do you mean they spoke words? Do you mean?
I never considered. Yeah, they spoke words like this.
In a public arena.
In a live, yeah. So I never considered saying anything to the person, and I won't. Even if I were to get a message, I would just delete it. I mean, not answer. Number two, I'm not going to carry it forward. But I wanted to respect myself, and I said to myself, why would this person who just damned me, my wife and Soulogy, why would I'm not in, you know, like, oh, just because you're friends on Facebook doesn't mean you're friends. But you know what? There's a lot of people that I would like to interact with and be in my universe. Why would I have somebody in my universe that's going to talk shit about me? So it's real simple. I came to a point to honor myself. I unfriend the person. I don't say nothing. Period. I'm done. Wash my hands. I'm done. That's it. No big deal. I don't carry it with me. But if I said something, because this happened before with this person talked shit publicly, and I had whatever reason I wasn't far enough along in my evolution. I actually allowed 2 or 3 things to slide, and I watched it, and I watched it, and I watched it, and then something happened. I unfriend the person. 10 minutes later, hey, why did you unfriend me? I said, hey, you don't like me? Well, I don't want to be your friend. Oh, and then a conversation started. Bad idea. So you just cut the cord and go. And you go in integrity and you honor yourself, and you don't there's no need to talk to the other person. There's no need to talk shit about the person. We're talking about this type of scenario. And one thing I've learned about these shows, there's a magic to them. There's a symmetry to them. Some of it has to do with Morgan and her fucking genius. And some of it has to do with the energies that are prevalent, that are becoming more and more obvious, that they're not just happening to one person, they're happening to everybody in one end of the spectrum or another. So what you're talking about.
And some of it, can I just interrupt quickly? Some of it has to do with your magnificent genius as well. Thank you. Go on.
Yeah. Well, and this is the other thing. And everything about what I witnessed or what was directed, it's about me. It's not about that person. It's about me. It ain't about that person. So why is this in my universe? Is there something I need to look at in myself? Is there a problem I have with this person? Is this person, you know, are they, you know, a part of me that I'm not seeing? Or does it come down to discernment, a choice? I'm going to make a choice. This is my universe, and I'm going to clear this out. I'm not ignoring it, denying it. I'm doing my best to own it, but I'm not going to feed the monster. You know what I mean? I'm not going to feed the monster. Not in my head, and not in with the mirror that the person is to me. Right?
And not in your nervous system, because what you've just described is the experience of regulating your nervous system. And like you say, when you do it that way, when you do it as an honoring of yourself, there's actually far less judgment of the person.
Well,
far less judgment at all.
Yeah, that's a great point what you're making. So
you feel it. You feel less judgment.
That's an actual how-to. Like, how do you regulate the nervous system? So let me give you an example. I mentioned it to Morgan a couple days ago. I said, I'm going to unfriend that person. Todd, wait, don't, and I'm like, okay, I'll wait. So if I had sat there and not attended to that little dangling thread in my head, like, okay, that's still back there on the back burner, don't forget it's there, and I had allowed it to keep going, it would have imbalanced my nervous system, right?
Absolutely. It would have suppressed your natural anger, which, when we think of anger as big burning rage, but you're just that anger that popped up and went, no,
that's not my, that's right. That's
not, I don't want to deal with that. And what's more, once I've done what I need to do to say no, because that's what anger's about. No, thank you, no worries. And as you said, and as I've experienced, when you attend to things that way, you're left with far less judgment or anger towards that person. In fact, they become irrelevant to a certain degree, but it's almost like lately I felt like I care enough about people not to care. It's like, the not caring is quite a deep thing. The thing that just says, I'm not going to help you stew this stuff by being a target of it. I'm just going to say, bye-bye. No, thank you. Much love to you. Good luck on your path.
There is no
so much more love in it.
Yeah.
But if you engage with them, it's very difficult to maintain lack of judgment and love. It's really, really difficult to maintain that once you have somebody going, yeah, but you do this. Oh, yeah, but you do that. Oh, no, but oh, and then you're in a place where you're feeling judgment and lack of love of this person. Whereas if you just cut the cord, and from a nervous system point of view, you regulate more and more and more to a point where at some point that happens and you're like, oh, no dangling thread anymore. I don't even need to unfriend them. I don't need to do anything. I do need to do it now. And I allow myself because I'm honoring and protected my inner child and its dysregulated authenticity. And when it says, that's fucked, and it won't shut up, I'm going to take action to protect that child. And as that child, nervous system, shadow, whatever, becomes more regulated and starts to trust me, that inner child aspect of me, I find, and as I become its protector and I don't negotiate, and I'm just like a mama bear. When the little bear goes, oh, I'm scared, I'm just going to go, okay, we're not going anywhere near that. Oh, I'm scared of pink umbrellas. No worries. We will stay away from pink umbrellas. There will be no discussion of whether you're ridiculous for being scared of pink umbrellas, or we'll just not do it. And as that nervous system regulates, that child, whatever way you want to put it, but the thing I love about the nervous system, it's taking all of these concepts that so quickly become mind-based intellectual constructs. And this is where the spiritual bypassing comes back again, because we hear truth as an intellectual construct. We hear the truth of positive thinking. We hear the truth of not focusing on the negative. We hear the truth of interconnection and we are one. We hear that truth and our body responds to that truth. But because our system is dysregulated, we take that truth in and go, yes, I can feel the truth of this. It's so true. And then because we're processing it fundamentally through a dysregulated nervous system, we come up with all these ways of avoiding the shadow of it, avoiding the dysregulation of it. The really powerful one for me, which is avoiding polarities. It's avoiding the polarities that's the reality of this realm. We have the absolute, which is we are one, and we have the relative, that we are experiencing the one through individual bodies.
Yeah.
That's the relative and that's the absolute. What we have done in this planet post-colonization, pre-colonisation and Indigenous systems of living, it would be fair to say they focused far more on the absolute and far less on the relative.
Well,
They
we're headed
focused
back
on,
that way.
and we are, but this is the single thing that I think the modern system has to offer to the new earth that the old system. Life was much more sustainable when we lived in Indigenous systems of living, in connection with the earth, with each other, with everything. Totally sustainable.
Yeah.
However, for people like you and me, Todd, who are fierce individuals, who have never fitted into the flow, we may not have done very well in that situation, because in the Indigenous systems, there was very little focus on the individual or the relative. So women who wanted to hunt, just to simplify it, women who wanted to hunt, men who wanted to take care of children, not an option, because things was very much the absolute of the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah.
But what the modern system has to offer to the new earth is the individual, is to have that system of interconnection which allows individual flourishing.
Yeah.
And you know how you hear all the people of a certain political standpoint saying, oh, Marxism, oh, you're all communists, you're all Marxists, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's part of this big global conversation. The difference in what I see as the new earth is it's not a return to communism. And that's, again, can be spiritual bypassing. Well, if we all just had the same amount of money and the same resources and so, that would be boring as shit. There needs to also be individual flourishing. And the only way that I believe we can move to the new earth, and that humanity will move to the new earth, is through collectively regulating our nervous systems to navigate it.
Very good. Are you going to put the links up? I've got to get ready for the next show.
Cool. I don't even know where to put them, but I'll go onto put them in the comments.
Go to my page, click. It'll say Todd Medina was live, and I'll have like a date. Click right in that space, and then it'll pull up all the comments.
And I'll be able to put it in the comments.
Yeah, because if you click comments, I think it's only going to do what I say.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But if I just put it in the comments on my page, it's not going to come up for everyone.
No. You want to go to the original. So put it in the comments of the original. Or send it to me if you have a problem. Send it to me and I'll put it. Cool. All right. I got to run, honey. Love you. Give Liam a hug for me. A hug and a kiss.
I will give Morgan a hug from me. Yay. Are you in the same place? Are you and Morgan in the same place?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I thought so. She told me that, but I find it hard to believe after all these years that you're actually in the same place.
We're trying to make it happen. We've got a couple of more miracles to shit.
They're coming. They're coming. They're coming.
You take care. Love you.
You too. See you, Todd. Love you too. Bye.